Hi, welcome to ECHL Week Presents. I'm Barry Schickling. Let's get today's show started with an update looking at both conference final series. In the first half of the 2023 Kelly Cup Playoff Conference Finals, an interesting storyline has been the home ice. Through the first two rounds of the postseason, home teams went 32 and 34, hardly an advantage. But in the Kelly Cup semifinals, home teams have won 5 of the first 6 games. In the West, the home team has come out on top all 3 times. Idaho, the league's top club during the regular season, not only won the first 2 versus Toledo, they didn't allow the Walleye a goal. Adam Shield was perfect in the Steelheads' net, and the playoffs' leading goal scorer, Wade Murphy, paced a steady attack. Game 3, played in Northwest Ohio, looked as if it might buck the trend as the Steelies took a 4-1 lead in the second period. But Toledo stormed back and got its first victory of the series when Brandon Hawkins scored this goal with only 2.5 minutes left in the third period. In the East, South Division champion Florida posted an impressive win in Game 1, followed by a double overtime nail-biter, capped off by a John McCarron goal in Game 2. But Newfoundland rebounded by scoring twice in both the first and second periods of Game 3 to become the first visiting team to earn a victory in this round of the playoffs. All the remaining games in the series will be played in St. John's, Newfoundland, which you'd think would benefit the North Division champs. But based upon this year's Kelly Cup playoffs, who knows? Most hockey fans know that an athletic trainer is an important part of any team. ATs spend an entire season minding both the physical and mental aspects of everyone on the club. Watching games this season, you might have noticed some females behind ECHL benches. That's because there were 5 women serving as team athletic trainers, a record number. As diversity within the hockey community continues to grow, we spoke with these 5 athletic trainers, all of whom are in their first or second seasons in the league, to hear their thoughts about their jobs, the sport, the challenges they face, and the place of women in professional hockey today.
Ever since I was a little girl, I knew I wanted to go into the medical field, and I love sports. I was a swimmer growing up, and so whenever I started looking at colleges and what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, I came across sports medicine and athletic training. So I shadowed my athletic trainer in high school, and I fell in love with it.
Really, my hockey journey started at the Division III level of NCAA at the University of New England. And from there, that's where I really fell in love with the sport of hockey. And that's when I decided I wanted to move into a professional role so I could work with hockey specifically. And then I'd like to just continue to climb the ladder. So in the ECHL right now, was in the SPHL last year, and plan on continuing all the way up to the NHL.
Well, I started athletic training back in high school is kind of when I decided that's what I wanted to do, and that's kind of where I started. Found a program when I was undergrad, graduated from there in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and then went over to the East Coast for grad school in Pennsylvania to get my post-professional master's for athletic training. I went to Dubuque, got a job with hockey, and was there for 2 years, and then started here when this team started.
Well, I've known from a pretty young age that I wanted to do athletic therapy. Honestly, it started watching hockey and seeing the therapist run on the ice, and from there I researched how to get to that spot. So I did a kinesiology degree and then an athletic therapy degree, and throughout my placements and schooling, I was able to get a job, and here we are.
I was a student athlete once upon a time, and I got injured and spent a lot of time in the athletic training room, and I just kind of fell in love with that kind of aspect of medicine and sports all mixed together. So I went to grad school, and then right out of grad school I got started in the USHL, and then from there I just kind of worked my way through.
In the world of organized athletics, amateur or professional, there are many options for those who want to pursue athletic training. But what is it about hockey that is so appealing?
Before I started with hockey, I'd worked with a variety of sports. I've worked with many sports in my time as an athletic trainer, and hockey just really stuck out. I have to say, no one loves their sport, as controversial as this may be to some people, as much as hockey players love their sport. And I really admire that passion, and that's definitely a part of the culture that really drew me into it and makes me want to continue on this path for my career.
I'm from Minnesota, so born and raised around hockey. I started playing when I was like 8 or something like that. I was skating when I was like 2. And so obviously hockey is a big part of our life growing up in Minnesota.
Past 3 seasons, I was the head athletic therapist with the Guelph Storm in the Ontario Hockey League. And prior to that, it was all through school placements, so I was a student assistant to the athletic therapist with the Mississauga Steelheads, also in the OHL, which was my kind of intro to elite level hockey. So I've worked in baseball, football, lacrosse, rugby. But throughout trying all those sports, it really showed me that hockey was what's best for me.
I went to the University of Nebraska at Omaha. I worked with their hockey team there and just fell in love with hockey as a sport and the kind of community around hockey there. The coaching staff there was really welcoming to me. All of the guys on that team that year were really great, and I loved the physicality of the sport and how like everything's different each day. So it kind of keeps you on your toes, keeps you engaged. It's fun every day in a different way.
Although the sport is changing all the time, for some team members, having a female athletic trainer might be unexpected. We asked if being the team's only woman makes a difference.
It actually kind of ends up being nice because when we stop and go to the bathroom, I don't have a line to wait in. And when we're on the road, I don't have a roommate. I don't have to, room with anybody because I am the only female. I'm one of the team, so they just really have included me in everything, and like the coaching staff, whenever they go anywhere, they bring me along.
I mean, I'm used to it by now. This is year 4 for me of being the only female, and I traveled with wrestling too when I was the only female, so I'm kind of used to it. There's really not much of a difference to me, and I don't think the guys have really noticed. I guess I don't know, I've never asked them, but to me it doesn't seem to make much of a difference other than they have to do one extra room with no roommate. That's really the only thing.
Everyone that I've ever met in the hockey world has been really great towards me and just easy to work with and always welcoming. So I just love that about the hockey community.
Their teams don't play each other very often, but when they do, what kind of stories and experiences do the athletic trainers share?
Meg and I and Jackie and I were friends, so we talk outside of like when we're playing each other and just kind of like keep each other updated on like you said, the crazy things that somebody said this was really funny, like on the bench, or like these chirps, and like so we just kind of go back and forth about that.
Like once in a while, especially if you've been on the road for 2 weeks or something like that, and it's just been all boys, you're just like, okay, another female to talk to. I think it's be a little bit a little bit different.
But I talk to Lauren quite a bit. I mean, we text all the time, so like we just talk about, I'm frustrated with this sometimes, or it's mostly athletic training stuff, but like, hey, like she knew we were going to Fort Wayne and she'd been there, and she's like, hey, I would use this place for like plugging stuff in, or hey, there's a bathroom in your athletic training room so you don't have to search, or just little things like that.
Especially during games, athletic trainers are likely to be the quickest to respond to a medical emergency. What types of scary situations have these ATs faced?
I'd say probably the most severe thing I've had would be a femur fracture. Yes, it was compound, so as crazy it is to say, because of the prep that we had done in the off season to be prepared for an emergency situation. So it went very quickly and went very smoothly. As crazy as it is to say that for such a severe injury.
We have kind of a secret language. We have certain signs that we'll signal to each other, and typically before every game we have a quick meeting, and we make sure our paramedics and our doctors are all in the loop. So again, fortunately, every big issue that I've had on the ice has ended well, and everyone's better off after it.
I know I've had a couple guys come off with like broken limbs and stuff like that, so yeah, I mean, I've had a couple of my athletes have been type 1 diabetics, and I've had more than one, so just being prepared for a hypoglycemic event or something like that, it just takes a lot of preparation and, planning, to talking with the athletes, hey, what do you want me to do if we do this, or hey, how would you like to go about this? So just, I think, always being prepared and just kind of being ready for it just makes it easier when the time comes.
There's undoubtedly lots of cool stuff going on behind the bench during games. The ATs discuss the best and hardest parts of their jobs.
The people always make the job more fun. I love what I do, and it's because of the people. If the boys didn't trust me and they didn't come in and see me, then it would make my job a lot more difficult because, you know, I'm here to treat them. I'm here to keep them on the ice and make sure that they're out there doing what they love.
You just get to meet a lot of different people from a lot of different places, and you also get to see a lot of different areas as well. So it really broadens your horizons and opens your eyes to different ways of life and different cultures, and really just getting to know the players and all the staff on a personal level, because really, you know, everyone has a story, and if you take the time to listen, you'll hear some interesting things along the way.
Coming to the rink every day and just working with all the different personalities, collaborating with our coaches and our equipment manager, and just getting to know each player. I've made really long-lasting friendships with quite a few because, like I said, you're together 7 days a week most of the time, so you really are a family, and there's just so many incredible people who work in hockey that keeps it interesting and keeps it very fun.
After the national anthem, I always just remember, like, I'm so grateful that I get to work in professional hockey and in a sport. I get to go to sporting events for my job, and I think that's just a privilege in itself. I do love that it's different every day.
The hardest is watching them at their worst. You know, they come to me when they're injured and they're hurt and things are happening, or, you know, like we have the serious injuries that come up and it's life-threatening. And that's probably the hardest thing, is to see someone that you see every single day in and day out. You know about them, you know about their life, and they're hurt and they're at their worst moment and they're having a tough time, and trying to keep them going a lot of times, because it's a long season.
Saying goodbye. The goodbye is like when people are traded, and like I said, the best part is the relationships, but, you know, having to say the goodbyes of somebody if they're released or if they're traded, or even if they, I mean, obviously we want them to get called up. You said it's a developmental league, but whenever they do inevitably get called up, saying that goodbye, and, you know, you never know, like, you might not see them again.
Staying organized, I think. We're responsible for 24 players right now, and it's their on-ice emergencies, it's their day-to-day bumps and bruises, it's their dentist appointments, and then all the paperwork, so insurance and medical charts. I love that. I thrive on the chaos, and I like that every day is a little bit different, but I think if you're not organized, then you're in trouble.
What about the future of women in pro sports? What do those who are in it right now have to say about where the trend is heading?
I think it's only going to grow from here. I think now, primarily, as classes continue to graduate, at least whenever I was in school, it was definitely female dominated in the classes, in my class at Pitt, and then in other classes that I've seen from other programs. So, I mean, if women are the ones that are graduating with the degrees, then those are the people who are going to get the job.
Definitely daunting to think of it that way sometimes, but I know I'm one of the few that are here at this level, and there's even fewer at higher levels. I do feel as though hockey, among the professional sports, is probably the most progressive as far as getting women into various roles in the organization. So that makes me really excited for where we are headed in the future.
When I graduated, I think we had 3 males in my program, so eventually there's just not going to be as many male ATs as well. Like, as a lot of the females are taking over. I mean, a lot of them are at the high school level, college level right now. But I think as we keep going and moving forward, like with football now, they're starting to get their female ATs on board. I think it's just going to keep going.
I think it's great that there are as many women as there are. I think, in all honesty, regardless of gender, just the most qualified people should be in these positions. So what I think is the most important is the more women, and it goes with any minority, I guess, just starting off at the grassroots level and getting involved on a lower scale and just working your way up, and again, regardless of gender, just earning your badges and keep rising through the levels.
I know we're still fairly new and forging our path, so in different areas, a lot of fans are a little taken aback to see a woman working with a men's professional team, but I hope to in the future that it's just not thought of any differently.
I hope one day that, like, it's just something that is there, something that's normal, something that while it's a big deal now, like, it won't be as much of a big deal later because people have just accepted that this is how it's going to be, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be this way.
Please join us here again next time for another ECHL Week Presents as we wrap up the conference final series and look ahead with our preview of the 2023 Kelly Cup Finals.